Whoa.
Did you say something, Ryan? Did you say something?
Who are you?
Well,
What?
I am the host of Thursday Night Barbecue Chat.
You're the co-host.
No, I am the host. You are the co-host.
We're both co-hosts
of the greatest podcast
right.
show
I'll go.
on.
I'll let that slide.
On the face of the planet. All right, everybody. It is Thursday night. It is another edition of Thursday Night Barbecue Chat. I am Steve Crass, and I am with It's All About the Barbecue. And during the day and during the week, you can find me at Bohnemeier in lovely, beautiful Downers Grove, Illinois. And the man sitting next to me, as always, the chairman of the board, Barbecue, Blackstone, and Beer, Mr. Ryan Hoagland.
Hi,
hello there, Ryan. I'm back.
What's up, everybody? How we doing? It is Thursday night, and we're back for Thursday Night Barbecue Chat. You missed a great show last week. I'm just saying.
Well, I hate to say, but I was at a great show. I'm gonna try and put this on here. I'm gonna have to turn my volume down.
You were at a great show. I'll give you that much.
I was at a great show. It was everything that I thought and more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is literally as described and as seen. It is a shed. Gravel floors, crap everywhere.
Is it a she shed?
Well, I think Brooke owns it, so I guess technically it would be a she shed.
That's. I mean,
I don't know if she really owns it, but
I'd like to have that for a she shed.
I take it as a she shed. Sure, why not? I take it as a he shed. I take it as just as a shed.
As a she shed, sure.
Yeah,
why
yeah. But no, it was a great time, a great experience, and surprise to me, I ended up competing in the actual shed showdown, which was kind of a fun experience. Never have I ever competed, as Ryan loves to point out all the time, and that I have cooked in the past, but I don't really cook a lot of stuff. I enjoy just eating stuff. So it was a fun experience. I had a great time.
Definitely a good time.
So, saw a lot of great people, and I got to see our guest today. I haven't seen our guest like in person for like a long time. So it was good to see them.
He's probably kind of excited about that. I mean, now
he's probably happy about that too.
It was going so good, and then it just went down. You know what? Let's just ask him himself.
Sure. Bring in Chris.
Chris, how we doing?
Hey, guys. How are we?
We're doing great. Sorry that you had to see Steve again.
Hey, you know what? It's been a long time since I've seen Steve, and the cool part about the shed is it is a family reunion. So it's cool. It's cool to get everybody together and hang out for a weekend.
Awesome. It is true a family, and we talk about it. First of all, Chris is with Code 3 Spices. They are in lovely, beautiful downtown Collinsville, Illinois. I don't know if they're true downtown, but it's just always fun to say downtown. But they're in Collinsville, Illinois. But I have to say, I have to agree with Chris. It was like a family reunion. I am not a steak person by no means. I actually spend more time with the barbecue people than actual steak people. But I can tell you, you felt just like if you went to a KCBS comp. I mean, it was just the same. I mean, the steak family is as strong as the regular barbecue family, and it's incredible. And to be able to go down there and cook your first steak, I said hi to Chris and saw him. He offered me any kind of help I needed. He was willing to do that. Said hi to Johnny Joseph, and he's like, if you need anything, just let me know. I saw Tim Brown at the end, for the Rhinestone awards. It's if you need anything or need any advice or tips, just let me know. I mean, everybody that I knew who I was and everything, I mean, they were more than willing to, and I'm sure if I asked somebody I didn't know, they would probably be willing to give me advice and tips. And kudos to the guy I was cooking with, Scott. I think he had a little bit more experience than I did, but he was willing to help me as well. So it was a fun thing.
Has he cooked 2 steaks? Because that'd be twice as much experience as you have.
No, he's actually cooked in the comps. I mean, I literally cooked only 2 steaks, but he's cooked in comps before that. But it was just, but he was willing to let me use his grills and some of his seasonings and all that other good stuff.
We got Dan Dickey in here, says grunt punch.
Yeah.
Oh, that's our
well, it's on the back of our t-shirts. So that's that's one of our steak finishing rubs is the Code 3 Spices grunt rub. Dan Dickey and some of these guys have heard it a few times. When we make it on stage, we make it a point to tell them they got hit with a grunt punch.
Gotcha. Now it makes sense. I'm like, what is grunt punch? I was thinking maybe he was down at the shed and that's what everybody was drinking or something. Or
no.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Well, everybody, Chris, it's been a while since I know you were on the live from the barbecue department at Wanamaker's, and that was like, geez, that had to be like 2 or 3 years ago. So why don't you get everybody caught up to speed a little bit? How did you get into the not only just the steak, but just in barbecue in general? What made you actually start the store? And you know, what's your background?
Well, so my background is literally I've been in computers, corporate America for years, and I don't know, 2010, something along those lines. I woke up one morning early and I watched a TV show called Barbecue University. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it. It's Steven Reichlin. It was on PBS.
Oh, yeah.
Why I ever stopped on that channel, I don't know. But he was making spare ribs on a Weber kettle. And I sat there at 6:30 in the morning and just enamored with the idea. And when the show got over, I literally ran to the store. I bought a Weber kettle. I went and bought ribs, and I'm like, I'm going to recreate this. And I literally have been hooked ever since. So we started, it may have actually been before that, but we decided there was a website called grillandfools.com, and they were doing some backyard competitions in our area. And I thought, you know what, this just sounds fun. Let's go cook and see how good we are. And it turns out we weren't. We were absolutely terrible. Got our butt whipped. We skipped the next year. We went the year after that and said, let's give it one more try. And we ended up with, I think, 3 trophies.
Nice.
It was like a tri-tip call. Like they had a mystery meat category, and we walked in and it was tri-tip, and I was like, what? I have no idea what to do. So I ran over to the local grocery store, bought a bunch of crap, and apparently it worked. So now we're award winners. So we thought, what the heck, we should launch some rubs. So in 2012, we started Code 3 Spices, launched some rubs. We we started hitting the barbecue circuit, got out of the backyard division, and anybody that gets into KCBS knows that when you start, you're just going to get your butt whipped till you figure it out. So it took us a little while. We had a lot of sad showings. And then we started figuring things out, and, you know, the rubs took off, and we're selling them across the country, and we were having fun with the barbecue team. And 2016, 2017, we had moved into a warehouse that had a little retail store on the front of it. And I thought, what the heck, man, we'll just open a small store. It was beyond my wildest imagination that it would grow to what it has. And then in 2018, I started doing steak. You guys know Murfreesboro, praise the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
I went down there 2 years in a row and got absolutely destroyed. So up in Central Illinois, Paul Boab from Smoking Ghost was putting he had gotten Johnny Joseph to come teach a steak class. And so I went to that class. Johnny's been my mentor ever since. I have bad weeks. I send him pictures and he tells me what's wrong. But in that class was me. It was Tim Brown. It was Sandy Brown. I mean, some of the great steak cooks were all in that class with me. And so we've been, I guess, since 2018, I've gone to Worlds every year, qualified. I'm not at the level of Tim and Sandy. They've just taken it to a whole nother level, but no, it's been, we've been steak cooking, we've been barbecue cooking, and we're having fun with Code 3 Spices.
Yeah, no, it's a cool
list of
journey.
classmates to start off in class. I mean, geez.
Yeah, I got a lot to live up to, but so the story is that the first comp after we took the Johnny Joseph class was in oh gosh, I can't believe I'm forgetting this. Marshfield, Missouri, just outside Springfield, Missouri. And I had no idea what to actually expect. I went there. I brought no food. I was starving. Sandy Brown made me a sandwich. She's like, we have some extra food. If you want a sandwich, I'll make it for you. And I ended up winning that comp.
Nice.
And this has now happened 2 or 3 times. So Sandy will no longer make me sandwiches. She's so mad at me about these sandwiches that they just won't get made anymore. So after that class, I came out of the chute pretty hot. And but Tim and Sandy have flown way past what I did.
Well, they spend a lot of time. I know they do work and they have jobs, but they're almost like full-time steak cooks. I mean, they're all over the place.
Oh, they're booking miles like it's going crazy.
Well, yeah. they were on the show and they said they work from home, so they can work from anywhere, which is nice.
Yeah, that helps out. But their full-time job almost is steak cooking. I mean, they're everywhere. It was nice to see them down there. Like I said, it was good to see a lot of the faces that I recognized and that they actually recognized me, which was even better. It was a fun experience, but yeah, that had to be an interesting. And Dan Dickey was actually saying he was sitting next to you in that same class. So there you
go. There's another one that was in that class.
Yeah, there was a lot of people in there. And then I think Johnny came up to Bohnemeier's. I think I had talked to Paul or somehow and got it to work out, but we originally scheduled Johnny to be up, and then of course, and I think the following March or something like that, and then COVID hit, and then we had to cancel that class, and then that merged into How to Be a Winner class with Tim and Sandy Brown with Johnny Joseph. So that was a kick-ass class. That's all I can tell you. That was a great class, and that class had, I think Dan Dickey was in that class as well, and then Scott Nardi was in there. So I mean, there's a lot of people. It's kind of like the KCBS thing. It's just so neat that people pass things along, knowledge and stuff forward. I mean, it just kind of, I think it's just kind of the neatest thing about barbecue for the people that do it. It's just passing the torch along that keep things going.
Yeah, and what's crazy is when I started in barbecue and even some of the guys before me, these classes and giving out secrets and the barbecue league. That stuff didn't exist. You just went out and got your butt whooped until you figured it out or you quit. And seeing these guys that are providing information and saying, here, try this. And, I besides Johnny, I've got a couple of guys with me that they help me, they give me ideas, and, sharing that information makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, it's nice to share it out. Just like Dan Dickey said, the hashtag Sandy Sandwich. Said I don't deserve to be in the same breath, and I also failed at Tim, Sandy, and Johnny's class at Wanamaker's, but it's an amazing class. I learned a lot, and you better believe every time I catch a top 10, I was reading my notes beforehand.
Yeah.
Well,
so what's that?
Ryan, I was going to say, I think
what happened, Ryan? You disappeared there for a second. What did you?
So I have my son's mouse down here. He left it down here, and it's got the side buttons for the back, and it kicked me out. I had to kick me out completely, and I went to log back in, but I clicked a different episode and it said ended. And I was like, "Oh no! Please don't tell me I ended the whole show again."
That you ended the show again? I was so excited that but Chris was in the middle of giving an answer. I couldn't even get all excited and say how excited I was that you were gone.
Yeah, that's it.
But he's got another long one here.
Yeah, Jesus says. I don't deserve to be in the same breath with all those people, but it's a fantastic class, and I was lucky enough to fail the class in Peoria, and I was lucky enough to go to the class at Wanamaker's. Some might argue. I still failed, and that's fair. Somebody respected people went to that class.
So many. Yeah, probably so many
respected people went to that class. Fantastic class. Tim and Sandy got one coming out. Don't miss it. I've learned so much. And a lot of my top 10s, I go back to my notes, and it's
Well, I wouldn't say that Dan Dickey failed. Dan Dickey has he's got golden tickets. He's down there in Dallas. So Dan, you did not fail.
Griddles and Whittles, how we doing? I was going to say too, somebody else took that class at Wanamaker's and then turned around and went and got a golden ticket at their first competition after that. The one at Wanamaker's. Well,
actually, Nardi took the class there at Wanamaker's and then ended up, that was the year he went on then to win the world championship.
Yeah, and then didn't Charlie do it too?
Oh yeah, Charlie Midlothian. Yeah, he then went out and then he did his first comp after that and won it. So
yeah.
But Chris, as you were saying, Chris, I mean, you can take the classes and you can have success and you can have success here and success there, but tell them a little bit what you were telling us about this past weekend at the shed. I mean, as if anybody didn't know, Chris won the Rhinestone event, which was the event on Friday. But then tell us about your stakes on Saturday. I mean, you went from being the number one champ, and then to where did your stake A and B place in the next round?
So it's always amazing to me that I can walk in and put up a 252.9, win a comp, and then turn around the next day and just get my butt handed to me. I didn't change a darn thing. Apparently, I forgot how to cook in the 10 hours between comps. No, I think I finished, I want to say 54th in stake A. Clearly, I did something completely wrong. Stake B, I kind of redeemed myself. I think I was 16th. But I don't know if people understand, like, you walk into these comps and the talent that's in there, it's not easy to walk in and just win a comp.
Yeah.
If you look at, and especially if you look at, like, when I won Friday night, there were 50 something teams. Saturday, there were 87 and 91 or vice versa. But they're some of the best cooks in the country.
Yeah.
You're competing against guys. Well, I was up against Tim and Sandy. I was up against Eric Hodson, from Boar's Night Out. You look at the list of names. It's just incredible. And to be able to pull a win out, be able to pull a call out, just to get a top 10 in some of these comps is just amazing. So, I don't want to say I was lucky Friday night, but I'll take it. I told the story at the shed that Johnny Joseph texted me 2 days before that comp, and he said, "Are you ready to have some fun? It's your turn to win." And I texted back and I said, "Don't put that pressure on me." and then son of a gun, I walked in there and won the darn thing. But yeah, Saturday, I mean, the level of competition that's out there, if you're not perfectly spot on, you may as well be at the bottom, because there's just no room for error with those guys that are cooking.
Steve didn't do too bad. Where'd you end up, Steve?
I was 65th out of 87. And I can honestly tell you that, like, same thing that Chris was saying. I mean, so I beat 22 people, whether they made mistakes or dropped it on the ground or did something horribly wrong for me to beat them. But these are some of the best cooks that are out there. And if for me to actually have beaten 22 people, I'm ecstatic. So I'll take it.
Now you got to beat. Your goal is 23 next time.
I'll be happy just to. I just had so much fun doing it.
Our goal every time is not to finish last. If I can do that, I feel like I've won.
Well, unless they got a good award for dead ass last, then that's a whole difference.
Well, I tell you, when Sean did that class or that competition, down at the Plainfield Legion for the DAL award, it was a bottle of Pappy 12.
Oh, I may have thrown the event then.
No, it was a Pappy.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It was a Pappy 10, because I love Pappy 12, Pappy 10. I'm not really that much of a fan of. I mean, that's like a bourbon snob, right?
No,
like
there's been some comps I've done that dead last gets you a class from somebody, or get you you get to travel with somebody. I'm like, ooh, that may not be a bad idea. I'll pass up this weekend for a class.
You just can't disqualify, right? You can't DQ it, but you gotta
be DAL, not DQ. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
What's Dan? So Dan says it's all about the day and the steak you get. I had a fantastic steak in Collinsville. I just had a judge that gave me 9s across the board, and I end up in the bottom of the pack. Didn't change. Things went up the next weekend and won. That's just how competition food sports works. Yes, it does.
Absolutely.
Look at that. Blackstone Betty. How are we doing, Desiree? Welcome in.
Yeah, that's the big thing is the judges. You never know what you're going to get. You don't know what the judges flavor. Because I can tell you, I saw Chris's practice steak for steak B, and it was gorgeous.
That's the funny part. That wasn't my practice. That was my turn-in.
Oh, well, it was gorgeous anyway. Either way, it was gorgeous.
Yeah, generally speaking, I don't do a practice on B. Once I do it on A, I've kind of figured out where it's at. I don't know how that just happened.
It's an iPhone or it's an Apple thing. It doesn't do it anything on Samsungs or anything, but
So I usually only do the practice on A. That gives me my temps and my flavor profile and that kind of stuff, and then I can just concentrate on a single steak for B.
Gotcha.
Did you ever cook both of your B steaks and then try to pick out which one you liked better out of the two?
No, and really, there's a reason, because the only thing you can really pick out is what appearance and maybe doneness. You can't really tell tenderness. You can't tell if it's one saltier than the other. So that's why the practice steak I always do first. So I can taste it, I can cut it open, I can measure all those things that I would normally measure. And then I decide, okay, is there a degree temperature change that I want to do, or am I going to leave it the same and cook that way? But once I do it for A, pretty much everything else is done, and right. For B, it's going to be the same thing.
Yeah.
As I say, with Blackstone Betty coming in here, she's one of the Blackstone pros. Do you see a lot of people still? I've heard of some people doing SCAs on a flat top and winning.
I don't know how many I see doing them on a flat top as much as maybe a cast iron.
Okay.
Doing a full blown sear, there's not a ton of them. But I've seen guys like Will Collier. He'll do steak A as a normal grilled steak and steak B as a seared steak, or seared steak. So that and just to see how they do, it gives you an idea each way. You don't see a ton of it. A lot of the different ideas on how to cook have kind of been thrown out the window. I've seen guys, sous vide to 120 degrees and then try and sear it. And I've seen all these different ideas, and generally it's either you're going to do it in a cast iron, or you're going to do it on a charcoal grill. For the most part, that's what you're seeing nowadays.
Is Mr. Collier still big out? I remember the sear revolution from a couple of years ago, but and does he still get a lot of calls, or is I don't know if I've seen him as much, or is he maybe he's not doing as many?
I don't think he's doing as many, but he's down in Oklahoma, so we have our core group of comps that we go to. He goes in his direction, and then we all kind of meet up in Fort Worth, Texas, in March.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get to Dan Dickey's question real quick, where we're just talking about the Blackstone. This is my buddy Daniel Anderson. He's one of the Blackstone Griddle crew with me, but he just was in a SCA comp in North Carolina. He was out there and got himself a golden ticket, and he cooked his on a Blackstone.
There you go. The cool part about SCA is it's cook it any way you want. You can put it in the microwave. It's all what the judges say at the end.
Right.
Right. Not that I've seen anybody put it in the microwave. I'm reaching on that one, but
you might have to get Fred Dudek in here to get the microwave questions going. I don't know. Talk about cooking a brisket.
At the end of the day, if it works,
it's true. If
I can figure out a way to do it, then I'm going to bring a generator and a microwave, and that's all I need.
Right. And then Dan wants to know. He said, "Chris, what do you think about the new? I'm guessing new rule or something, or new question. If you're cooking both steaks, you only get 3 steak rule."
So there's a I saw this the other day. I don't know what competition it is, but and maybe it's a rule change. I don't pay enough attention to those kind of things to know what's going on. But I know there's a comp coming up that if you pay the entry fees, instead of getting 4 steaks, you're only getting 3, which saves the promoter money. I run the event in Collinsville, so I completely understand about saving money. Most of these comps are for a charity, so whatever you can hold back. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. And Dan's right. I mean, I just told you I only do 3 steaks, right? I do a practice and 2 turn-ins. Is there – the only thing that I can say to that is I trim all 4 of my steaks, and then I decide which ones are my turn-ins and which one is my practice. So you can actually – I may choose 2 steaks for steak B, and my terrible one, when trimmed, may turn out well. And actually, it happened at the shed. I found one that was still sitting on a table that was – I mean, it was a chuck roast. But I was able to trim it down and clean it up, and it actually turned – that's the steak I turned in for steak B. So the only downside I see is that you're going to miss the ability to mix and match once you've trimmed. But the upside I see is for the promoter to save money. But I haven't seen it in action, so I'm not 100% on that answer.
Almost. I mean, yeah, you're saving them money, but then you're also almost giving everybody, better pick of another steak. You're not just taking another steak that could be a good one for somebody else, right?
Yeah, it just depends on how it literally, I haven't seen how. So is it steak A, you choose 2 steaks, and then steak B, you get 1? It all depends on what's sitting on the table as to how it would decide what ends up going back to your camp with you.
Yeah. Depends on, how it wants to run. I don't know. I haven't heard that one yet, so I don't know.
I think it's brand new, and I saw the first comp, I think, is in February, maybe. I haven't seen it in action, so I can't really say it's good or bad.
Oh, so Daniel said he said it helps with the cost of running the events, and then he also said have to sign up for all categories, ancillary and both steaks. And then he said we have one next month with that format. So Daniel, do you know how it is? Is it, do you get 2 steaks for steak A and then 1 for steak B, or you just go up and you're just picking all 3 steaks, or what? I don't know. We'll see when he answers and see if he knows. But
yeah, I think that's the ultimate question is do I get 3 steaks at a time? What's my selection look like?
Right.
The 4th steak on steak, well, not even the 4th steak. The 2nd steak on each steak is generally not as good as your 1st steak, especially where you are in line, because if you're at the front of the line, the 2nd time you're picking from the back, so who knows what's left. So I think that has a lot to it's in February, but that has a lot to influence what kind of steak you're going to end up getting.
Yeah. I'm glad you're reading Dan Dickey's comments tonight, Ryan, because he writes long comments.
I know he does. Well, that's the same problem I have. My name is on a flyer, and come July, I'd love to see everybody. And when it's just Wisconsin, Worcestershire, Wisconsin. I want the best event possible. I didn't agree to limiting the steaks from 4 to 3. Must be using talk to text is what I'm guessing there.
Yeah.
I didn't agree with limiting the steaks from 4 to 3, but I understand it from a capitalistic standpoint. And ultimately, it's my name, but it's not my money, and who want to take care of the people that have their money out there.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, at the end of the day, well, here's the key. I run an event and I cook in events, right? As a cook, I want to see 4. As a promoter, I want to see 3, or an organizer, I want to see 3, because that's ultimately saving me $16, $18 a steak times how many competitors. I think at the end of the day, once it actually happens and we see people's feedback, it'll determine which direction this will go.
Yeah. All right, Daniel. Daniel said he's going to make a phone call and get back to us. But Ken Perkins says it's steak A would be 2, steak B would be 1.
There you go. Thanks, Ken.
Yeah.
Ken knows.
But he also totally agrees with Chris.
He's been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know because I didn't realize that you
didn't
do the second steak, but I mean, in your case, you do 3 steaks, but then like you said, but I mean, if you're depending on where you're in line, I mean, you may not get the same steaks that you would have gotten if you would have gotten 4. I mean, it's I don't know, it's kind of a weird situation with that one. That's
yeah, I mean, it's one. If you're number 1 or 2 on a table, and there's 30, 40 cooks. Steak 1's going to be fantastic. Steak 40 is going to suck. But if you're number 40, steak 1's going to be mediocre. Steak 2's going to be mediocre, but it's what you make out of them.
Right.
And if you're, and if I'm doing if I'm doing the shed and it's a double and I'm number 1 on the second table, I'm not even going back to look for a second steak.
Right.
They're going to be what's left on that table isn't going to be what you want to use. But if you're number 20, you want to get both of them because both of them are mediocre. And what can you turn it into?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Dan says Ken is a world championship. I'll fall in line. and his shortest comment of the night. Amen.
Yeah. God bless you, Dan. The ambassador to the great state of Wisconsin. Yeah.
Luck of the draw on the beef steak.
Well, let's talk about the shed and your main event that you won. I was talking to Chris, but I was talking to Chris beforehand, and then unfortunately, I decided that I wanted a beer, and then of course. I went up to go get something out of the saloon, and the best part is that Craig Carter and Brad were standing there, and I said, Craig, can you get out of the way? I need to get a beer. And he's like, well, if you buy me a beer, I'll get out of the way. And then Brad leans over and goes, well, just so you know, they're free in the truck over there. So Tricia and I went over to the free truck. I said, see you, Craig. And we went over to the free truck. So, of course, we were out there talking and doing stuff. And obviously I wasn't competing in the Rhinestone, so I didn't really have any vested interest in what was going on intently. So we were drinking, and that lo and behold, in that short time that I was gone, I come back, and Chris, you're wearing the Rhinestone hat. And I had to come around. So I'm like, God, that looks like Chris is with the Rhinestone hat. Did he win? And I had to circle around to where I could actually see your face. And I'm like, that is Chris. He did win. So congratulations, buddy.
I was standing on stage saying the same thing. I was like, am I really wearing this hat? The coolest part is I don't remember what year it was. It was pre-COVID. I had gone to the MBBQA conference in Kansas City, and Dan Judd had beat me by 1/10 of a point. Oof. So I had a shot at this hat previously, and I missed it by 1/10 of a point. So to hear my number called was pretty exciting, and to get up there at the shed. Obviously, I didn't do the same thing on Saturday, but a Friday night win pretty much sealed the weekend for me.
Yeah, no, that was that's
talking about this one right here.
That's one right there. That's it. And that hat is heavy.
I wore that
after I won that thing. I wore that all Friday night, and Saturday my neck hurt so bad, but I was so excited I had it.
Oh, that's good. I'm actually excited. I went down there and somebody I really, really kind of knew that actually won the whole thing. I thought that was kind of neat. But I wish I could find the video, Ryan. But as I was talking to Chris after, I'm like, you won? And he's like, yeah, I won. I didn't even believe that they were calling my number. Somebody had to tell me or whatever. But the video, someone took a video of them doing the number and then you winning, and the surprised look on your face was priceless.
Well, it's funny because I knew my number was it was 77, and the craziest thing is I don't ever share my number with anybody, but I had the coolest number. So Kevin Yankee, he's part of Team Collinsville Barbecue Supply. I walked over to him after I got my ticket and I said, "Hey, I don't ever share this with anybody, but look at this number. It was 660077." I'm like, "How cool is that?" I'm like, "That's got to be a lucky number." And then I was standing there and Johnny was next to me and Kevin was next to me and they called 77. And you can, if you watch the video, I stood there for a second and I was like, "There's no way he just said that."
You did.
And then it hit me and I was like, "Holy cow." Listen, anytime you can win a state comp is crazy. Anytime you can win an MBBQA is even nuttier. And then to do it at the shed was even more fun. So we had an absolute blast and yeah, I'm not kidding around when I say I got away with one. It was nice to pull out a win.
Yeah.
Well, Dan says congratulations, Chris. And then,
thanks, Dan.
Dan Anderson said he's going to get with the promoter tomorrow and get back to me on the 3 steaks.
I'm curious how that goes.
Says, "What's up, boys?"
Grab them in the brisket. They were at the show. They were doing a live podcast. I actually got to meet those guys, and it was kind of neat to see them. It was one great podcast to another. Well, one greater podcast to a great podcast, but it was good to see them. They're the greater one, obviously.
They're the greater one.
But
and then you got Eric Bam says, "Now there's 2 great guys."
And Steve.
It's been Eric a long time since I've heard from Eric.
Yeah, no, he's always good when he chimes in. He's a good friend.
Yeah, Daniel's he's definitely looking forward to attending the Worlds for the first time. Yeah, he got his golden ticket. He's going down.
Hey, if you guys haven't been to the Worlds, it is insanity. We're talking 400 of the best cooks in the country, and the caliber of competition is just second to none.
How do they do? Speak of shifting gears on it, but you mentioned the world. But how do they do so many? It was nuts with just 90 people at the shed. How do they rotate through? Is there more than just how many groups of steaks are there? And then 2, it's like how do they get that many cooks? Like, where do they put them all? And how many judges do they have?
So it's a lot of judges, but the judges come from all over the country, right? We have these pockets of state comps. You have, St. Louis, you have Arkansas, you have Mississippi, you have Texas. I know Utah has 5 or 6 comps. They come from all over the country. So you're getting judges from everywhere. Last year it was Will Rogers Center. I guess since it started, it's been at the Will Rogers Center, which was a giant auditorium. When you walked in the doors, as you went into the auditorium, they had just tables upon tables for judging, with lights in there. But this year, they have moved the competition to Texas Motor Speedway. So we're actually going to be cooking on the infield of the raceway, just like KCBS and the American Royal. Okay. So I'm very, very excited this year to go to Texas Motor Speedway. So what they do or what they've done in the past, we were talking about this at the end of last year. I was getting towards the end. I didn't have my golden ticket. And I said, it doesn't look like I'm going to qualify. So be it. It'll be the first year I've missed it. And then the announcement came out that, hey, we're now moving the event to Texas Motor Speedway. And I go, that's it. I'm going to get my golden ticket. And went down to Tennessee and got very lucky to have my golden ticket passed down. So I was like, oh man, I'm in now. I'm going to Texas Motor Speedway. So generally the way they do it is they put you in groups of 50. I think last year, 350 cooks. You have to finish top 10 in your group to move on to the finals. So there were 60, and I'm making up numbers, but let's say there were 300 cooks. There were 63 because you have the top 10 from each group, plus you have the U.S. points champion. I think the European and maybe Asia. I'm not 100%. 64 maybe Australia's in there. Those top 64 are who go to the finals. And when you go to the finals, it's a one take all. So I think they announced the top 15. My first year, that 2019 year, the year I qualified in Marshfield, I went down to Worlds, made it to finals, finished 12th in the world, and I was like, man, this stuff is easy. I think I've only been back to finals one time since then. So I was like, oh man, this is easy. I just walk in and finish 12th in the world, and this is great. And then I think one year I made it to finals, and besides that, I haven't made it since. So it was cool the first year, and it just gets harder and harder every single year because people just keep learning more and more. And they're coming up with ideas that you would never think of. So, but no, Worlds is absolutely insane. I know they do the ancillary championship down there. They're doing a rib cook-off, and then so you cook Saturday for preliminary rounds. You cook Sunday for finals, and then there's a comp Sunday night, which used to be called the Cowtown Classic. This year it has a different name, but when SCA was starting their season after Worlds, it was the first comp of the year. And that one is just open to anybody that wants to show up. So you may have 300 cooks, 200 cooks just in that one alone as a single comp.
Wow. Yeah, I just know how crowded it was last weekend. Obviously, the Motor Speedway is obviously a different arena than the Shed, but just seeing that many cooks in one spot, and then you're talking about 400 in one spot, which would be like 4 times, what was there this past weekend. It just boggles me, all those people that would be there cooking.
And think about any KCBS comp, and then think about how they do it at the American Royal.
I guess so. Yeah.
Same thing, but it's steak.
Yeah.
Do you ever do any of the ancillary stuff? I mean, I was there obviously looking like a lost little mouse, because I had never done a steak selection in my whole life. If you had ever seen anybody look more lost, it was probably me, because I didn't know what I was doing at all. But man, I mean, there were people they were getting turkey breasts, they were getting ribs, they were getting 2 steaks. I mean, and they, and then you throw in, there was the Bloody Mary on top. Did you ever do any of the extra stuff, or do you just concentrate on the steaks?
So the Shed is actually the reason why I don't do ancillaries. We went down there years ago, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to do the ribs. I think I can really run with this. And it turned out that the timing of my turn-in steak and my rib wrapping, I had a turn-in steak on, but I was supposed to be wrapping ribs, and I'm like, well, I can't walk away from the steak. And by the time I got to the ribs, they looked terrible. I mean, they were dark. So I figured out real quick that I get distracted. You can't let me do 2 things at once. Let me concentrate on a steak, and that's what I'm going to do. I give all the props in the world to Craig Carter and all those guys. Craig did all 5, 6, 10, whatever events there were, did them all and won the Grand. Yeah. And that's awesome for him. I am terrible at time management. I just want to cook a steak and move on. So I don't do ancillaries anymore. I've thought about it, and then every time I do, I get distracted. There's a squirrel, and off I go, and I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm a steak cooker only. And on top of that, these guys have such creativity that the stuff they do is just incredible. I don't know if you saw the Bloody Mary turn-ins.
I did. I went and videoed them afterwards. Yeah, Craig Carter's was absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's the creativity that these people have, that, they have a taco category and somebody's doing apple pie, cinnamon sugar taco. Listen, you're getting ground beef and a taco shell. That's all I got. So these guys are, what they're doing is just incredible, and I dare not even journey into their world.
We're doing tacos at an upcoming class at Bohnemeier.
Yeah. Do you think they do a lot of? Do those guys like that have a lot of? Because I think like you go to, say the guys from Croy Valley. I mean, you got some people like I don't know whether it's Damon or Lou. One of them will do the ancillary thing, and then some do the steak thing. And do they mix it up? You think, or they have like a team that does it, or do you have to? Like in Craig Carter's case, I mean, if you're signed up to do all of them, it has to be you that's doing it. You can't have some other person on your team doing it and then you just turn it in.
No, you have to be the cook. When you're signed up, that's the thing about SCA is it's an individual sport, right? You're not KCBS. You're not doing teams and categories. When you do this stuff, it's your name. And I know there's some people out there that all they do is travel and do ancillaries.
Yeah.
Some only travel and do steak. Some do both. But just the ideas that these guys come up with, I dare. Now, the cool part is because I'm not doing ancillaries, they bring it by and we get to try it. That's the really cool part. Because they're not going to share the idea with their other ancillary opponents. But the stuff they come up with, I try it and I go, well, I would have never thought of that. So I might as well just let them have it.
Yeah, I get you. No, everything there looked amazing. And then I'm kind of like you. I know we were talking about it and you said you were glad that you won the Friday event because you're not sure if you really wanted to do the Showdown thing. And I kind of watched a little bit of the Showdown, and where that is like steak. The winner of steak A goes against steak B. And then I think the winner of turkey goes against pork or something. I can't remember.
Turkey. So steak A goes against steak B. Turkey goes against the celebrity chef. Pork goes against, or ribs goes against a celebrity chef.
Okay.
And the winner of turkey and the winner of ribs get another prize, and then the winner of the steak showdown is the actual shed winner.
Yeah, that just looked a whole lot of. I'm glad by some miracle I didn't win either, because I wouldn't even know what I would have cooked in the last one, because those guys looked like they were making some weird pinwheel things and this and that, and I'm just like, I only know how to throw a steak on there.
Yeah, they were doing I saw the video. I think they did spinalis pinwheels, but we can all cook steaks. What's crazy is it almost touches a little bit of the ancillary world, right? Because it's what can I turn in with it, and what can I make from what's sitting on this table. To me, it's kind of a scary proposition, right? Yeah. You're going to go in with the entire shed watching you. Kevin Yankees, he won it one year, and he went real simple on some spinalis bites, and I think the guy he competed against made a sauce and did all this stuff, and it touches a little bit of the ancillary world while you still have to cook a perfect steak. And the only thing you can bring with you is a thermopen.
Yeah.
Everything else that's sitting out, you have to use. You can bring a thermopen with you.
Yeah. Steve probably would have done a steak and then maybe a burger or something like this.
I would have done a smash burger. It would have looked just like that, and it would have probably taken first prize, Brian.
So you would have ground up your steak. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, what a great. But I really thought the first one, I thought I was in trouble because I did the tying where you tie it around and make it look round and all this other stuff. And then I don't know how I tied it, but for some reason putting the tenderizer on and all that other stuff, it swelled it or whatever, and it pushed my string up. And then I'm like, oh, this isn't good. The string's kind of pushed closer to the top. And then as I was cooking it, the string kind of fell off and the steak split. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to be a good day today if I got to turn in something that looks like that. And then
your first steak tip is you tied it too tight.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Yep. That's what causes your steak to start to curve, and then your strings pop off.
Pop out. All right.
And then they break.
So tight, Steve.
Well, Ryan, when you're just out having a good old time at the old Cookerama and cooking steaks, Tricia thought my steak tasted absolutely wonderful. She wanted to know why I didn't cook steak more often. And I said, well, I don't have anything to cook on. So,
I mean, you've attended enough steak classes.
I have taken Sandy and Tim's class. I have watched it. And then I did participate a little bit in Sonny's class, but as I see, we're getting close to the hour, but I want to switch gears a little bit because I want to make sure we get this in here. But Chris, you have an event every year down there in Collinsville. And I want to talk about that because that looks like a super cool event. And I want people to kind of pay attention to that and get excited about that and sign up and go there because it has grown immensely since the first time I've seen it posted. And it looks like a cool event. I know you were talking with me and Tricia, and I'm trying to figure out if I can find a way to do a road trip because I think it's after I get back from vacation. So, but give us a little more details on that one and the dates and everything so that people can start getting excited about it.
So, yeah, we do Smoking on Main, downtown Collinsville every year. It's actually a KCBS, SCA, Backyard KCBS, Kids Q. I don't know. There may be other events in there. I can't even remember. But we do. We actually close down 3 city blocks and side streets of Collinsville, including City Hall, and do this event. So we have one block that is just food vendors. We bring in barbecue vendors. We bring in, I mean, you name it. And then the rest of that entire footprint are competition teams. So we'll end up easily over 100 teams total. Usually we have probably 40, 50 steak teams, 40 KCBS teams, 30 backyard teams. It's a gigantic event. We do it the last weekend of July, it's crazy because in Collinsville, we have an event in the spring called Horseradish Festival. We have an event in the fall called Italian Fest. So the only time they would let me do this was in July. It is hot. It is awful.
Yep.
And we have an absolute blast doing it. We got live music. We've got food vendors. We've got teams competing all over the place. And we do 2 days worth of competition. So SCA on Saturday, I think this year it's July 26, 27. And the cool part is all the money we make out of this event, we donate to the Collinsville Food Pantry and the U.S. Veterans Foundation. So at the end of the day, we're giving money back to the community, and we have an absolute blast. And it's kind of cool because I get a weekend off of competing. I can just walk around and watch everybody else stress out.
Nice.
Yeah. No, it sounds like a cool event.
Daniel, so I'm going to get back to you. Daniel said he's leaving. He said maybe he can catch up with you in Texas.
You know where to find me.
He'll be on the stage with the big win this year.
Nah, I already got my win out of the way.
He's going to take the Rhinestone and the Worlds this year.
So, Daniel, if you're still in here, just walk around with your flashlight and see where the light reflects off of.
Yeah, he'll be wearing Rhinestone. Yeah. So, no, that's a cool event. And a question for you, though, back onto the rubs and sauce. Do you still do the 25 cents of each bottle and of sauce and rub to first responder charities, or do you not do that anymore?
So we're still donating. It's probably not as much as it used to be, but we still do U.S. Veterans Foundation and Backstoppers and those guys. We're still trying to do what we can to take care of them, give back to our community. Since day one, our deal has been to give back and to do what we can. There were days that, especially in St. Louis here, that I've seen some of these first responders and what they go through. So we do everything we can to support them and give back where we can.
Oh, that's excellent. And they do have great rubs and sauces. I do have to say that. I did try the grunt punch. It was a little on the garlicky side for me, so I went with the smoke, the Southern Thunder, and the Midwest Dust. So
try them both.
Yeah,
you may get a shiny hat out of it.
You should have done that. I should have done that.
No, I was just thinking that was because that was 2 years ago. You guys in 23. I remember seeing Paul Buob's post. You guys had the bad weather down there, right? Was that the same?
Yeah. So that's the only thing about. We've had 85-degree days and we've had 110-degree days, and 2 years ago we had a thunderstorm that it ripped a roof off a building, and thankfully it landed in a spot where I would normally put a team, but that year I hadn't. So it was literally like SCA teams were turning in and they had water in their turn-in box. Like it was flooding them because it was raining so hard on the way to turn in.
Wow.
It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. And, to all of our volunteers that help us, it was crazy how well we held on. And the next day it was 85 degrees and sunny and, absolutely beautiful. So unfortunately that's we can bring the comp. We can't bring the weather. It'll decide what it's going to do.
Yeah. No, we've got Eureka, Central Illinois Barbecue Throwdown in Eureka's back, 99% confirmed now. But no, I think I'd love to come down there as well too and check it out one of these times. But July is such a busy month.
Which is crazy because it's way too hot to be doing anything.
Right.
Yeah. But that Eureka one, I've been to that Eureka one because they used to do an SCA, right?
I don't know if he's done that. I didn't pay attention. I did a couple backyards there when I first started getting into everything. And I know they had the KCBS comp there. And then I now run the Griddle Battle, which is, same thing, but it's a whole competition on flat tops.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Well, I think they did SCA one year. And I only say that because that was one of my other wins. I remember coming out there and cooking that one. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, it's back. It didn't happen last year, but it's back this year. So Griddle Battle will be down there. So if you happen to be in the area, stop on up. Or, I'd love to get down to Collinsville and check it out as well, too. I mean, that sounds like a great event. Giving back to everything it's going towards is, amazing as well, too. So
Collinsville is just fun because we do it in old downtown. So we close streets and you're, beneath all the historical buildings, and it's an absolute blast. And the good part is you're on asphalt. So, you get the storms, you get all that, and you're not in mud and you're not in grass. And it's a good way to help out the city.
Maybe we incorporate a Griddle Battle in there some way.
Oh, Jesus.
Now we're talking.
See, Steve gives me such a hard time. You know what? Sean Young reached out and talked about the battle, and that didn't work out. And then Brandon Bresner, that does Central Illinois Barbecue, reached out again, and we got it going, man. We did a competition at Eureka, was the first one in 23, actually, so that same year. And then last year we did, or 23, we did up here in Yorkville. Did another Griddle Battle, and then last year we only had one in Yorkville. But this year we're looking at 3 if everything goes through. So down at Eureka again, and then up here in September, and then Kansas City in October if that
actually gets off the ground. Yeah,
gets off the ground and gets going. That's with Craig Carter. We should talk, man. We'll get something going.
There you go.
That's Ryan's Griddle Battle plug for the week again, ladies and gentlemen.
Right? So you gotta plug your stuff. You gotta get it out there.
You're your best advertiser. That's all you can say. But you kind of had like two victories though, didn't you, Chris, this weekend? Weren't you saying that you helped with the sauce for somebody that with the kids' queue was? So you kind of won. You kind of won twice.
So yeah, we've done this for I think 3 years now. Johnny Joseph's granddaughter has cooked kids' queue. I don't know how many years it's been, but the last 3 years, she's been doing pork chop in the kids' queue. I think 2 years ago she was 5th. Last year she was 4th. This year she won kids' queue. And for the last 3 years, we've made the sauce out of our Patriot sauce. We've made a combo for her. that she can dip her pork chop into, and she turned it in and won the darn kids queue this year.
Nice.
So I'll be real honest. I was probably more proud of that because she's been working her butt off, and to watch her cook that thing and turn it in was incredible. And what the guys do from Boar's Night Out for the kids queue, they ended up doing a raffle just for kids queue. They raised $6,000 and change. Yeah. There was a perfect tie for first place. So these kids just split like $3,200 a piece. Yeah. They won more than the adults win in steak. Yeah. It's insanity. Awesome. But, you know, hats off to the guys from Boar's Night Out. It was awesome to see Sailor get a win. And I know Johnny Joseph's he's being a proud papa, talking about how his granddaughter won all this.
Yeah. No. And as Brooke Lewis likes to say, none of that money can be used for video games. So, but yeah, I mean, we were out back listening because it was crowded in there that day. So we were out in the cheap seats out on the other side of the fence, listening
by the beer trailer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you had to have substance while you're standing there. You couldn't just like, but it was funny how they did their, she had said the year before they did like 4,600, and then this year it ended up being 5,900. And I think Eric said, who's got $78. I don't know who said it, but they just made it an even 6,000. And because of the tie, then they took the second place money and they put it in with the first place money. So yeah, they each took home $3,200, which is just, to me, was just like, I was sitting outside like, dude, if I could pass for like a kid, I'd do it. I mean, that's a lot of flipping money for a kid, but bless them for doing that.
It's a lot of dough. And listen, I mean, the kids that are getting into this, my daughter cooked, she finally just aged out. So now we're going to see if we can't turn her pro. But just to see these kids, and Sailor sitting there just fanning herself with $3,000, having a good old time. She wouldn't even buy me a soda. It was crazy. But that's one of the things we do at Smoking on Main, going back to that, is we actually do the kids queue. You don't go back and cook with your parents. We put all the pits out in front of the stage. Oh. And all the kids cook in front of the public.
Oh.
So, we threw a little spin on it, and hopefully we'll have some good prizes this year for the kids. And it was amazing seeing Sailor get out there and win that thing. And when we knew her number, so when we heard it called, we all fell out of our chairs.
Excellent.
That's awesome.
No, it was a good time.
Yeah.
Well, there we are, Ryan. It's been a quick hour again.
Yeah. Another great show.
Yeah. Chris, thanks for.
I mean, with having you back, but I mean, there's always gotta have something.
I make everything more special, Ryan.
I'll leave it at that.
Chris, it was good to see you again, and 2 weeks in a row. It was good to see you last week and catch up. And because God, I can tell you, I think the last time I saw you and Mike came up for the Ace show. I think that's the last time I'd seen you. So yeah, it was good to see you. And this was a long time ago. Jesus.
Well, you got to make it out to more of these family reunions.
I do. I want to go to the Collinsville one. I don't know if I got enough vacation time. I got to look at the calendar and see if it's my weekend off or not. But that might be another road trip and Tricia loves going to these competition things. So
the good news for you is it's a Saturday, Sunday comp. So as long as you have the weekend off.
Yeah, so I got to look and see, because Collinsville actually is a lot closer than the Shed, so that you can make it pretty dang quick. It's only 4 or 5 hours away. So, but yeah. So, but thanks for coming on, Chris, and congratulations again on winning. I was happy to see that, and much success with the store and everything else with the sauces and the rubs, and keep on doing what you're doing.
Hey, thanks, fellas. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. All right, Chris. We'll talk to you.
All right. We'll see you guys.
Yeah, Chris. Bye.
No, we're not there yet. We're not there yet, Steve. Still got to end the show.
That was good old Chris from Code 3 Spice. God, it has been a long time since I've seen Chris. When I saw him down there, it was good to see. It was good to catch up and good to see. Great experience, Ryan. You probably should have came down to the shed. It was
just keep rubbing it in, Steve. Keep rubbing it in. You know,
the shed was everything that I thought of. I got. I don't know if you can see it. I've got a new hoodie. So I got my shed hoodie. And I got a shirt too, Ryan. You want to see my shirt? I got a shirt from the shed too. Of course, I spent a lot of money, which made Brad and Brooke proud. But see, look at it. See, look at this. Look at this.
Yeah.
Barbecue. Yeah. See.
Did you get to hang out with Flat Brad?
You know what? Trisha and I looked for Flat Brad. I don't know if real Brad was pulling my leg about Flat Brad, but I couldn't find it. He said it was in a truck out in front, and I was looking. Trisha and I gave a quick glance. It was kind of raining, drizzling that night, and we couldn't see it. And so I just said, forget about it.
Nice. Well,
but I did ask about Flat Brad because it would have been nice to him standing behind me, but that's all right.
Probably would have tried to steal him.
You know, I probably would have got arrested for taking them because somebody would have seen me taking them and they wouldn't have known. And Brad would have said, I don't know who this guy is. And I would have ended up being, I'd end up being like in the Hooskow down there. They throw me in the bayou with the Gators.
Oh, that could be worse. I mean, anyways,
yeah, it was
another great show.
It was a great show. But yeah, I just want to give a shout out to, obviously to the shed for a great, I did cut myself. I cut myself right on live TV. To the shed and everything, and a big huge to Beth and everybody at the Cozy Rosie. That's the campground that those guys own next door. It was actually a cool little cabin that we stayed in. Cool little campground. So if you're looking to go there and you're looking to stay somewhere close to the shed, I recommend the Cozy Rosie. And then we are making plans on going back for next year. So Ryan, keep that in mind, possibly next year.
Yeah.
So, do you want me to start putting it? Like I'm bleeding and put a good word in for how did that happen, Ryan?
I don't know. We're gonna have to get out of here so you can go take.
I gotta get medical assistance.
Well, we got a guest for next week.
What is next week? Next week, I believe, is the group from OG Bandits is going to be on. I think I actually filled up. Most of February already. So next week is OG Bandits. For those of you that are SCA people, February 6th would be the next one. That is going to be the one, the only, the great, not the one-time, two-time, but three-time point champion, Johnny Joseph will be on the show. He's a hoot that I always talk to. It was good to see him. And then after that, we would have on the 13th, we got David from Melinda's Hot Sauces will be on. So those are the next three shows.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got nobody here watching us anyways, but everybody watching later, make sure you
know why it's because I scratched myself and I'm bleeding. So now they're,
like, the blood
scared.
They're nauseated now. Nauseated after seeing you in the blood. But yeah, guys, thanks for hanging out. We appreciate it. Make sure you're following It's All About the Barbecue and Barbecue Blackstone and Beer. And we will see you guys next week.
Right here on Thursday night. As always, be kind and courteous to everybody. I know we're going through some rough times with everything that's going on, but let's say, hey, you know what? It's been 3 or 4 days. Everybody's still alive. No one's getting all scared or nothing. So just relax, just enjoy. Think barbecue, think steaks. Get off of social media and just kind of just watch and talk to your people next door. You know what I'm saying? Except for Thursday nights.
He might be scared. I'm not scared. I'm a happy guy. So
I'm not scared.
We'll see you next week.